Back for part two of the vintage slides. I was out picking this summer and found some vintage slides. In part one, there was a group of slides from 1975. They were of a 4th of July parade, and it took several hours to find the location, and you can see that in the other video. Now in this video, there's another group of slides, and oddly enough, it's another parade, and actually two parades. There's 14 slides of one parade, and just a single slide of another parade. Now these slides were taken in 1965. They're dated March 1965, and it's once you see them, it's pretty obvious where the general region where these were taken. And it did not take long to pinpoint the location. So let's take a look at those slides. We'll start first with the 14 slides of the one parade. Now this is the first slide in the series of 14 slides of the first parade. These girls are holding placards. Reads Vikings. Leaders with carrying placards that says Washington. And we get a better view of these signs in the background. In the background says Ramona. And there's that round building again. Okay, in this one, the photographer moved down the street a little bit. And you can see that tall building with the green roof in the background. It's very distinctive. And then just next to that is that round building that's being constructed. And then in the foreground here we have a number 600 on the side of this building, and it says Hotel Capri. And if you look at this banner, it says Downey Senior High School. And here's another one of the high school band, that building in the background, and these signs off to the side. This is that location down the street again. These sashes and these uniforms say El Capitan. And there's that Hotel Capri and the round building. The placards say Monte Vista. And we have those signs in the background once again. And in this one it says California. Antelope Valley High School. And off to the side here, there's a couple of interesting clues. The building says Breakwater. And there's a sign right next to the street light. It says Auditorium Parking. Another one with Ramona. And off to the left here, zoom in, we can see Harbor House Restaurant. Notice this road has sort of a funny jog in it, right in front of this tall building. And it almost looked like to me that this was near the water somewhere. This is the last slide. Once again, it was a pretty much dead giveaway when I saw this one. We have Anaheim. So I started searching on Google Earth and looked up a couple of these high schools, and they're definitely Los Angeles area high schools. And looked up this Hotel Capri. I could not find that. It didn't come up on searches on Google Earth. And neither this Breakwater or Auditorium provided any information. Couldn't quite pinpoint what this auditorium was. And of course we had that large building with the green roof. The best clue that was in there. And it looked like to me it was along the water. And that Harbor House restaurant, that didn't provide any information. And the sun angle proved to be inconclusive. I couldn't quite pinpoint what time of day this parade was, so I couldn't quite pinpoint which direction we were heading. Now, I did a initial search, mainly focusing on this large building with the green roof. I figured that would be pretty easy to spot from the air. I couldn't quite find that at first, so I went back to the slides and took a closer look at that. So I went back to this slide of the tall building. It's about the closest view I could get of it. And there was some wording above the first floor windows. So I started taking a closer look at those. And I couldn't quite make out what these words were. But if you zoom in right above the stoplight, I could just barely make out Long Beach. So I went back to Google Earth and zoomed right in on Long Beach, and very quickly found the building. Okay, as soon as I saw that, I zoomed right in on Long Beach, and sure enough, here's that building with the green roof. And I said the road had a funny jog in it. You can see that right here. And here's that round building. So let's zoom in and take a closer look. And look back down here, you can see that building with the green roof. And this is East Ocean Boulevard. Go down here a little bit. And look off to the left here, that's where the Harbor House restaurant was. That's all gone. And here's this condominium, this round building. Let's go down here a little bit farther. Okay, here's that building with the 600 on it. And right next to that was the Hotel Capri, and that's gone. It looks like this whole street's been pretty much redeveloped. Now off to the right, we saw a sign that said auditorium. Let's look at that. And over here to the right, we have the Long Beach Arena. So that's what that auditorium was referring to. This area over here. Now I couldn't quite tell from the original photos if this was closed off or not before. This may have been all closed off, and this road may have been put in later. I couldn't quite tell. So East Ocean Boulevard in Long Beach. Now in this second single slide, we'll look at this very closely. There's some really good clues as to where this is. And believe it or not, the actual date and time is on this slide. A single slide of a different parade. And once again, it was dated March 1965. And I said previously that this one had the date and time actually in the slide. And if we zoom in closely right here, this is Saturday, January 16th, 11 a.m. And right above that it says 500 parade. And then right at the very top, it's cut off, but it says Raceway 500. So I did a little looking on Google, just that Raceway 500. And after a little bit of looking, I came up with the name Riverside Raceway 500. And that kind of made sense because in one banner in the back here, It says Riverside welcomes. I did a little research on what that Riverside Raceway 500 was, and I'll show you that later. That was very interesting. And these placards these girls are holding, it says Ramona. And right there we have Pringles department store. And some very distinctive street lamps. And off in the distance there's one building with a very distinct overhang. And then way off in the distance, you can see a domed building. There's a view of the mountains in the background. So I was very quickly be able to determine this was Riverside, California. I'll show you, it's very interesting what happened to the town and this actual street looks like now. We saw from the slide that was January 16th at 11 a.m. So it was winter sun around noon. So the sun is going to be pretty much due south. And we saw from the slide that the sun was raking across in this direction. This is south. And this would be north. And east, west. We can tell that the parade is heading in a southwesterly direction. Okay, so we're going to leave Long Beach down here and go up to Riverside right here. It's quite a distance away, so it's clearly two different parades. I'm not quite sure what the occasion was for this other parade, but this other parade up in Riverside was associated with the race. So the downtown area was up in here. Just had to do a little searching to find the downtown area, and that was right here. And as we noted before, the parade was going in a southwest direction. So as you can see, all these roads are going in a southwest direction. So I started searching through the downtown area here. First looked at all these other roads here: Lemon Street, Orange Street, Market Street. None of these were the right road. And then looked at this Main Street in the middle here. It's very interesting to see what happened to this Main Street. It's actually taken over as a public park. It's one thing that kind of made it a little difficult to find this location. The location actually ended up being on this Main Street. And it was turned into a public park, so it made it a little difficult to find the exact spot. But if we zoom in right here, we can see that domed building right here. And it's called the Mission Inn. It apparently has a very famous staircase inside. So then I tried to pinpoint where that picture was taken along this main street. So I flew into a couple of these corners. And I took a look around here. And this corner, you can see that top of that domed building. And there's a tower right here. It was visible in that old photograph. But I wasn't sure this was the right corner. So I traveled down through this park here to the next intersection. and eventually determined this was about as close as I could get to the location where that picture was taken. Now right behind this tree here is that building with the unusual overhang or cornice. And we can travel back down here just a little bit. And right there we can see it. So this was pretty much the spot where that picture was taken, about as close as I could get. And here are those distinctive street lamps. And I believe the Pringles department store is right in this area right here. And this is where the parade was coming down right through here. And if we spin around here, you can see the main street went right through here. And they took over the entire block here in the middle of the city and built this new City Hall building. Alright, we'll take one last look down the street in the old photo. Let's take a quick look at that Riverside International Raceway. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. You could look at this later if you want to read more about it. But basically it was from 1957 to 89. It operated. Used in movies and television. And it closed in 1989. And was made into a development and a shopping mall. Here's an aerial view of the raceway and also a sign that was out on the highway. And the raceway was over here in the Moreno Valley. And it was right in this area here. There's a shopping mall right here. And I have an overlay of where the raceway was, and it was right in this area here. Okay, here's the shopping mall right here, and you can see the outline of the raceway. It's now a housing development and a shopping mall.